So we've ranked every attacker in Rainbow Six Siege. Now it's time to rank every single defender in Rainbow Six Siege. And this season is going to be interesting because there's been major changes to Frost, major changes to Lesion, and I think it's going to shake up the meta quite a bit. Now, as you can see on screen here, we don't have the typical list. We have top 3 S, A, B, C, D, and F. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rank every single operator in the game right now, and then I'm going to go and pick my top 3 that you need to be using next season. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Let's start off with a more interesting one. Let's start off with Frost. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I was playing Frost a lot last season, and I think this rework is going to hinder her a lot. If I had to be honest, I probably would have put Frost maybe at an A tier last season. I know that she can be very easily spotted, her gadget and stuff, and it can be countered by literally everyone, but I think she had a very good weapon, not a lot of recoil, and now that attackers are going to be able to get themselves up and out of this, I know they'll be hit with a debuff, but now I think she is easily going to be a B, maybe even down to a C tier operator. Now, I don't want to over exaggerate how big of an impact this is going to have on Frost, so I'm going to leave her in B tier, but let me know how big of an impact you think this is going to have on Frost in the comments. Moving on from Frost then, we now have Alibi. Very good weapon, decent gadget, can be useful for gathering utility, but once again, can literally be countered by everyone just by not shooting it. I don't know why Ubisoft haven't done it yet, but I think the hologram needs to have the skin that you have applied. I think it will trick a lot more people, and I think that's what Alibi needs, to be honest. So overall, I'm going to leave her in the B tier. I think she is going to be better than Frost, and now that I think about it, if I have Frost in B tier, Alibi has to be A tier. What am I talking about? Moving on then, we now have Aruni. I genuinely think Aruni is an S tier operator. This could be a wild pick, but I know she only has the DMR and the P10 Roni, and the P10 doesn't even have 1.5 times scope like Mozzie does. But hear me out, if you can get good with a DMR, DMRs can be extremely strong, especially on the defensive team, because it has a lot of damage output and it has a lot of range. So if you can get used to it, she can be extremely strong with a DMR. And I think on specific maps, she is so good. It is kind of hit or miss depending on the map, but I think she's an S tier operator. Next up then, we have Azami, which is not going to surprise anyone. She's another S tier operator. By far, one of the most versatile operators in the game. By far, one of the best operators in the entire game. Definitely one of the best defenders in the game. I can't really praise her enough, to be honest. Next up then, we have Bandit. I think he's an A tier operator. Obviously, he can deny hard breach, he can electrify things, which is just useful to have on the defending team. It's actually extremely crucial to have on the defending team. On top of that, he gets the MP7, which is a great SMG to have on defense. I don't think he's as good as Kaid, which I'm gonna go ahead and put him in S tier. I think Kaid does everything Bandit does, but better, with a slightly worse primary weapon. I think that's pretty accurate, but I think the versatility that Kaid has with his gadget over a Bandit, where he can hide it and stuff like that, and even get walls through floors and walls and stuff like that, is extremely crucial. Next up then, we have Castle. Once again, I think Castle for me is one of my most played operators last season. He can be extremely strong, and I know the UMP is kind of frowned upon as a weapon, but it can be extremely strong, especially with the 1.5 times scope. The only downside is if a castle barricade is on the wrong doorway, it's going to actually hinder your team. So I'm going to put him in A tier. If you're going to play castle next season, please learn how to or where to put his gadgets. It's going to be crucial for your team. Next up then, we have Caveira. I think it's just an easy C tier operator. It can be round changing, I'll give you that, but more times than not, you're probably not really going to get an interrogation off. Like I've said in previous videos like this, if you're a good Caveira player, you can be game changing, but 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to be a hindrance, and you're probably better off going a better operator. Next up then, we have Clash, another C tier operator. I'm not going to put her any lower because she is actually quite a good operator at what she's designed to do, which is to slow down the attackers and kind of annoy them and make them waste utility on her, like frag grenades. I know a lot of people hate coming up against Clash. She's quite often banned and stuff like that, but as an operator, I do think she does her job. I just think there are better operators to pick over her. So with that being said, Clash is staying in C tier. Next up, we have Doc. Now, Doc for me is an easy A tier operator, having the ability to heal your team, and not only that, heal them all the way up to 120 HP in one shot is extremely good for the defending team. If anyone takes any unnecessary damage or spawn peeking or anything like that, Doc can come in, stim it, and boom, it's like nothing happened. Doc is definitely a lot better than Thunderbird, which while we're here, let's bring Thunderbird up. I think Thunderbird is a B tier operator, and Doc also has a 10 times better loadout in almost every department over Thunderbird. Moving on then from Doc and Thunderbird, we now have Echo, another A tier operator. He could even be S tier on specific maps, but I don't personally have a lot of success playing Echo, so I struggle to put him in S tier. I definitely think he has the potential to be up there. It all depends on how well you play as an Echo. To be honest, I need to spend a season playing as him religiously so I can kind of get used to his playstyle and stuff like that, but for me, he just doesn't fit my playstyle, so I'm going to leave him in A tier. Next up then, we have Ella. One of Ella's greatest additions is the fact that she has one of the fastest fire rate shotguns in the game. This season, shotguns are getting reworked, and I think Ella's shotgun is being hit the hardest. Almost every shotgun in the game seems to be getting a major buff, or at least it feels like that on the test server right now, but Ella's shotgun kind of feels like it's the same, if not worse. But overall, I do think she is an A, maybe even a B tier operator. I do think other trap operators are better than her, so for now I'm going to leave her in the B tier. Next up then, we have Fenrir. I'm just going to chuck him straight in S tier. I'm surprised Ubisoft didn't change him, to be honest. A lot of people were complaining that he has maybe too many gadgets, or is too annoying to deal with, or maybe even the effect that a Fenrir gadget has on you happens too fast and stays for way too long. I do agree with all of those points, and I'm surprised Ubisoft didn't change him, but because they haven't changed him, he's just going to be very strong again next season. I definitely see Ubisoft maybe tweaking him, maybe removing a gadget or tweaking his effect of his gadget in the mid-season patch. But going into Year 8 Season 3, he's a good operator, great operator in fact. He deserves S tier. Next up then, we have Goyo, another great operator. I'm just going to chuck him. To be honest, I think he might deserve A tier right now. He is actually quite a good operator. In the frag heavy meta that we are in right now, Goyo is great at slowing them down, preventing them from coming through certain doorways and stuff like that. And overall, he's actually been used quite a lot recently. He has the 1.5 on the Vector as well, which is a very strong weapon. So overall, I don't think he has many drawbacks as an operator. So he deserves A tier. He could even be an S tier operator. Next up then, we have Jager, always going to be an S tier operator. His gadget is just so useful in that regard. I know his weapon isn't as good as it probably used to be. Feels like I'm being extremely generous to the defending team, but I think Kapkan is also an S tier operator. It's free, easy kills. If you use him at least once a game, you can get free damage, free kills, and no one's really going to expect it. On top of that, he comes equipped with C4, he comes equipped with impacts if you want it to set up sight and stuff like that. He has a great SMG. Overall, he doesn't really have any drawback as an operator either, and the fact that you can literally just put his gadgets down, forget about it for an entire game, and then maybe get a kill or something is extremely strong. And especially on console, if you're a console player, he's definitely S tier. PC players maybe an A tier. But here we are. This is the big one, because Lesion this season has got a major overhaul. His traps now do a base damage of 5. I believe the poison damage that it does has been increased. I think it may have even been doubled nearly. And then if you stand on a second Lesion mine, it instantly deals the poison damage and restarts the timer. So if you walk over like 2 or 3 in a row, you will see about 20 to 30 HP disappear instantly. And then on top of that, it also stops you from sprinting like it normally does. The only downside is it's no longer going to be invisible, but if you hide them well, I don't think that's going to make too much of a difference. You just can't leave them out in the open as much as you used to be able to. Overall, I think last season I would have put Lesion at like a B tier. I think he could climb up to an A tier this season. I mean, he doesn't really have any drawbacks. Great loadout, impact grenades. I believe he's also getting the super shorty as a secondary or something like that, which is crazy. Lesion is literally going to be a great operator this season, and honestly, I'm all here for it. I love Lesion as an operator. I love this change. Next up then, we have Maestro, an easy D tier operator for me. I think he's quite comfortably one of the worst defenders in the game. I don't really play him too much, so maybe I'm being extremely biased. I just don't use Maestro enough. Overall, I just don't think Maestro is that great of an operator. I think you're better off running all the operators at the top of this list over a Maestro. So for that reason, I think he is a D tier operator. Next up then, we have Melusi. I kind of want to put Melusi in C tier, but I do think she does have some use case, so I'm going to leave her in B tier, but she is getting closer and closer to the drop down to C. I'm going to put it out there. I don't like playing Melusi, okay? I think she maybe even deserves the 1.5 as well. But with that being said, that may skew her pick rate a little bit, and that's just not what we need in Rainbow Six Siege. Next up then we have Mira, comfortably one of the best operators on the defending team. I'm going to put her in A tier because she can be banned in ranked quite often, and there is some maps and some bomb sites, should I say, that she's not going to be as useful on, but she definitely can have the biggest single-hand influence on a map than any other operator in the game. I think if a Mira is used on specific maps and bomb sites, she can literally be game-changing, free wins, free intel. For that reason, she deserves A tier. Now, Mozzie for me, I think just deserves A tier. Great loadout, intel denial, gives himself gadgets and cameras and stuff like that. I mean, there's not really a whole lot you can say about Mozzie. I think everyone agrees he's a good operator, and he's very easy to use as well. You just shoot down your Mozzie pest. If you catch a drone, put it in a good spot, and it's useful for the whole round. So overall, I just don't think you can say anything negative about Mozzie. Moving on then to Mute, I think he's also an A tier operator. He could even be an S tier operator. He kind of helps with that wall denial, intel denial as well. Could very comfortably be an S tier operator, but I do think he belongs at the top end of A tier. He could even be stronger than the likes of Mira, Castle, Bandit, and Mozzie. I think this is a little bit skewed. I think this is more accurate. Overall though, I think Mute is definitely an A tier operator. Let me know what you think down in the comments. But moving on from Mute, we now have Oryx. Oryx, in my opinion, is definitely one of the best roamers in the game right now. With his buff in the mid-season patch of last season, he can now go up patches 30% faster. Extremely useful, extremely strong. I can't wait to use this even more this season. I do think he has the best potential to roam and then make it back to site, and I think that's what makes him extremely strong. He also has a very good weapon as well in the T5 SMG. Do I think he's going to be as powerful as Lesion? Maybe not, and I still am very tempted to put Alibi in B tier. I really want to do it, but I'm not going to, because I know you guys are probably going to disagree with me. Now, once again, I still feel like I'm being extremely generous to the defending team. We have so many people in S tier and A tier, and not a lot of people in B tier and below. But I do think, just fundamentally, Rainbow Six Siege, you can be a lot more flexible on defense and get away with it. I think all the defenders are quite strong, bar like 2 or 3 right now. And the same thing goes for Pulse. I think he's an A tier operator. He's got the UMP with the 1.5. He can see people through walls, which is extremely useful for getting free C4 kills. Overall, not really much you can say wrong about Pulse as an operator. I think he's always going to be fundamentally good. Just being able to gather intel through walls, a live feed of where someone is just always going to be strong on the defending team. So for that reason, I think he deserves A tier as well. And then once again, Rook, he has to go in A tier. He grants everyone on the team that picks up the Rook armor the ability to self-revive, which, yes, 9 times out of 10 you're not going to get it off, but the times that you can get it off and maybe someone doesn't know that they've knocked you, those are the rounds that Rook can really get the potential out of his gadget, and just basically increasing everyone's base health unless they get headshotted is just a major plus to the team. You can't really say anything bad about it because it's always going to be useful. Now, with that being said, I think Smoke has fallen off. I think at one point he was definitely an S tier operator. I think recently I would have put him in A tier. I genuinely think Smoke is now a B tier operator. I think the loss of his shield has been extremely detrimental to him as an operator. I mean, personally, kind of similar to Echo for me. He doesn't really fit my personal playstyle, but as an operator, I never really found much use out of his gadget. And the fact that he no longer has the shield and he has to rely on someone else bringing a deployable shield to play with the shotgun is kind of making him fall off quite a lot. Now, I do think still in that upper echelon of ranks and even in Pro League and stuff like that, he's still going to be extremely vital, but for the majority of Rainbow Six Siege players, I'm going to put him at B tier. Next up then we have Solis, easy A tier, could even go up to S tier. Just the ability to basically be IQ on defense, but better. It's just great. I love it. I think the only thing that lets Solis down as an operator is she only has access to the P90. If she had a better SMG, she'd be even stronger and easy S tier, but the P90 I think definitely holds her back to that A tier level. Tachanka for me is an F tier operator. He can be somewhat useful for, you know, delaying operators and stuff like that, but I feel like it's so hard to arc your grenades and get them in the perfect spots. I think for the majority of players, Tachanka is going to be such a waste of time. You're better off just bringing a Goyo. He's going to be more useful. He's going to have probably better weapons. And yes, I know Tachanka has a 2x scope on the VSN SMG, but overall, I just don't think he is anywhere near any other defender on this list. And you can pick pretty much every operator here and do a better job than a Tachanka can. Next up then we have Thorn. I'm still surprised that she has the 1.5x scope. As an operator, I genuinely don't think she is better than B, but because she has the 1.5 on such a low recoil weapon and such a high damage weapon as well, that is the only reason she's being picked as much as she is. Definitely does now have that level of damage output. She can definitely be one of the highest like threat operators. She can definitely frag out, kind of similar to what Warden can. And once again, I'm going to put Warden and Thorn both in B tier. Now, they are good operators, but for their gadget and utility and stuff like that, no. They are not good operators, but they're going to have that killing potential, so they're always going to be up there. Next up then, Valkyrie, easy S tier, just having cameras around the map that the attackers won't know about and have to actively go out of their way to find. Always going to be strong, great intel gathering, can potentially do the same thing as Pulse, where you can C4 up through the floor. Overall, just a great operator, great weapon, great utility. Nothing bad can be said about Valkyrie. Vigil for me, I think is a C tier operator. I think he has a great weapon, but he's really being held back. I just don't think he is as strong as he once was. I don't know what it is, but over the years, I used to main Vigil as well. So this is coming from a previous Vigil main. I hate how much he's fallen off. I really don't enjoy playing him at the moment. Hopefully he does come back into the meta very soon, but right now he is easily one of the weaker defenders in the game, which leaves us with Wamai, which is a comfortable B tier, could even be an A tier operator, and I'm going to leave him an A tier because why not? With that being said, guys, don't leave yet because we have to pick our top 3 operators for defense that you have to be using this season. Starting things off, I genuinely think Kaid is always going to be a top 3 operator in the game unless they extremely nerf his gadget or rework it in some kind of way. I think he's always going to be a top 3 operator in the game. Top of that, I think Azami, just because of how versatile she can be, has to be in that top 3 pick. And then finally, I think I'm going to have to put Fenrir in top 3 until they tweak his gadget and how good it is right now. I think he's just a top 3 operator. You have to be playing those 3 operators this season. But with that being said, that is my finished tier list. Thank you guys for watching. Click the video on screen, and until the next one, goodbye.